I never thought that a throwaway internet joke would gut me like a knife, or that it would lead me to do what I'd been too polite to do for years. Melissa posted it on a Wednesday afternoon, in a tone she'd call funny, but I knew what it really was. If I could erase one family member, it'd be her. #good riddance. Then, she tagged everyone, her mother, her sisters, even Aaron, my son. She didn't tag me, just left me to find it myself, like dog crap hidden under a pretty rug. I stared at the screen. The room went dead quiet. I was halfway through slicing carrots for a stew I wasn't even hungry for anymore. I reread it 3 times, as if maybe the meaning would shift. Maybe it would become about someone else. Maybe I was being too sensitive. But no, it was me. And she wanted me gone. Not in private, not with adult words or a difficult conversation, but with hashtags and likes. By the time I saw it, the post had 337 reactions and 89 comments. Little heart emojis, people laughing. Even some of her old college friends chiming in. OMG, same. One had written, "Family's the worst," said another. Melissa always had a way of cutting deep with a smile on her face. She played cruelty like an instrument, and the worst part was, I'd let her. For years. Because I wanted to be the kind of mother-in-law who didn't make trouble. The kind who backed off, gave space, stayed quiet even when the comments stung. Because I loved my son, and I didn't want to make his life harder. But that post? That was a declaration, not a joke. And I didn't respond with heat or anger or some emotional meltdown. No, I answered with fact. Cold, precise, documented. Melissa had forgotten who held the real power in the house she liked to call her forever home. I opened the county assessor's site, took a screenshot of the property record, circled my name at the top, Evelyn M. Carter, and saved the image to my phone. Then I left one calm little comment under her post. You forgot who pays the taxes. And I attached the screenshot. That was it. No insults, no threats, just ink. And for the first time in 5 years, I watched Melissa panic in silence. Because the likes stopped, the comments froze, she thought it was a joke, I made it a record. They'd lived in that house for 5 years, but you'd think they were heirs to an estate the way they spoke about it. Melissa called it our forever home from the minute I handed them the keys. Aaron called it a blessing. I called it temporary. At the time, it felt like a kindness. They were young, married just a year, living in a 1-bedroom with water stains on the ceiling and a lease that ate up most of their income. When Aaron asked if they could move into the house, my house, it wasn't with entitlement. Not then. It was with that pleading tone only a son who's trying not to disappoint you can manage. I had just finished paying off the mortgage that spring. The place was clean, stable, empty. Too empty. The rooms still echoed after Henry died. I said yes. Of course I did. The agreement was simple. They could live there. I'd keep the deed in my name. They'd take care of the basics. Utilities, minor maintenance, food. I'd cover taxes and repairs. In the future, we'd talk about them buying it. Talk, not assume, not rewrite history. But somewhere along the line, that unspoken boundary dissolved. Aaron paid a few bills. Melissa ran errands. Then Melissa started telling people they were homeowners, that Aaron had bought the house from his mom, even gave a fake closing date to one of the neighbors during a block party. They'd been calling it our house for so long, people just believed it. I didn't correct anyone. Not because I was trying to be humble, but because I didn't think I needed to. The paperwork said what it needed to say. But Melissa doesn't operate in facts. She operates in optics. And from the outside, it looked like they'd made it. Middle-class married bliss. Hosting holidays, planning renovations, tagging photos with captions like, "First-time homeowners be like." So when she mocked me online, she thought she was punching down. Thought she was shading the old woman in the spare room, the burden, the extra. She didn't realize she was mocking the woman who owned the floor under her feet. And to her, it didn't matter, because she believed what everyone else did. The house was theirs. Legally? No. But socially? Publicly? She had rewritten the story so many times, she forgot there was an original version. And that original had my name on the title. Assumption is the thief's favorite ally. Melissa's cruelty wasn't new. That post was just the first time she'd made it public. But I'd seen the signs long before. Like the time I brought a casserole to Sunday dinner, and she said, "Oh, Evelyn, you don't have to cook. You know, some of us have more modern palates." Or the time she rearranged the living room furniture, and when I mentioned it, she smiled and said, "Well, I guess old habits die when the house gets younger." Then there was the day she accidentally tossed out a box of my things from the garage. She'd labeled it, "Donation, Muskold stuff." Inside were Henry's war letters and my wedding dress. I remember standing in that garage, holding the empty box, my fingers shaking. She came in with a soda can and said, "Oh no, are those yours? I thought it was just clutter." Clutter. 50 years of love and loss, labeled garbage by a woman who married in for less than a decade. She was always nice about it, though. That was the trick. Always smiling. Always joking. Always with that fake laugh that sounded like wind chimes in a storm. But behind every comment was a message. You don't belong here. You're lucky we let you stay. You're an add-on, not a foundation. I did start saving things. Screenshots, messages, notes. The note she left on the fridge the week I had bronchitis. If Evelyn's still coughing by Friday, maybe suggest a care home. We need our space back. She didn't even sign it. Just scrawled it in Sharpie, like a grocery list. I made a folder on my desktop, named it Why Not? Every little cruelty went in. Not because I planned to use it, but because deep down, I knew one day I might have to prove that the disrespect wasn't sudden. It had always been there. Small rudenesses stack into big crimes. I didn't want a war. I wanted clarity. Paperwork gave me that, but an echo chamber wouldn't be enough this time, so I texted Rosa. She's a fact checker for the Oakbridge Gazette, the local paper most people use to wrap flowers or find estate sales. But she's sharp as a tack and keeps her ear to the ground like a truffle pig for moral rot. I typed, "Do you cover small moral scandals?" She replied in under a minute, "Only the delicious ones." What's cooking? I sent her a redacted screenshot of Melissa's post, then the county property listing. Just facts. No emotion. Rosa didn't need drama. She needed truth that bites back. "I'm not asking for an article," I told her. "Just quiet verification. No names. Not yet." She said, "Let me dig a little. If there's a public record trail, I'll find it gently." While Rosa worked, I sent one more message. To my lawyer. I didn't call. I didn't even schedule a meeting. I emailed him a summary, the post, the public assumptions, and a note that I'd be preparing a statement regarding ownership clarification should it be necessary. No threats. No drama, just a heads up. My lawyer, Stuart, is a man who wears tan suits in winter and never raises his voice. But when he speaks, banks lean forward. He responded within an hour with 2 lines. "Records confirm title is yours. Let me know if public misrepresentation continues. Advise not confronting directly yet." That yet held weight. I didn't want this to explode. I wasn't looking to humiliate Melissa for sport. I just wanted her to stop acting like the house she mocked me from was hers to rule. If anything, I was giving her a soft exit, the kind people only get once. She could delete the post, backpedal, and chalk it up to poor taste. She didn't. Instead, she doubled down, snide comments, a passive-aggressive meme about boomers clinging to paperwork like it's 1952. Her tone wasn't just flippant anymore. It was arrogant, confident in the crowd behind her. But I had something better than a crowd. I had Rosa, and I had Stuart. Quiet media is louder than loud gossip. While Melissa posted memes and petty captions, I pulled bank statements from the past year. Mortgage payments, all from my account. Copies of every tax notice, all addressed to me. I created a folder on my desktop called Title Armor. It wasn't flashy. It was factual. Rosa pinged me that night. Records check out. Tax docs line up. Want me to prep a short item for the weekend? Not yet, I said. Let her come up for air. The next morning, the property tax notice arrived. A crisp white envelope, straight from the county office, addressed to Evelyn M. Carter. Due in 30 days. No room for confusion. It was perfect. Not dramatic. Not invasive. Just boring enough to be undeniable. A county bill with my name on it. Not Aaron's, not Melissa's. Mine. Black ink, dated, official. The kind of thing no amount of hashtags could overwrite. So I took a picture. Just one. A clear photo of the envelope and notice laid flat on my dining room table, next to a plain mug of coffee and a yellow legal pad, the same setting I used to balance my checkbook every month. Then I posted it. Not on my page, not in a blog or a statement. I just replied to Melissa's original insult, the one where she said she'd erase me if she could. Since we're sharing facts, here's today's mail. And I attached the image. That was it. No yelling, no follow-up, no tagging. But the thread lit up again. It didn't go viral. That's not how these things work. But it reached the people who needed to see it. A few family friends. One of Melissa's college acquaintances, who worked at a local lender. And, perhaps most satisfying, our neighbor Judy, who commented, "Wait, this is your house, Evelyn?" The likes stopped again. But this time, they didn't just freeze, they curdled. People weren't cheering anymore. They were confused, curious, and some of them were clearly uncomfortable. Melissa saw it within the hour. She deleted her original post, then reposted a new one. Meaner, louder, more defensive. Apparently some people can't take a joke or handle their mail. Hope you enjoy clinging to paperwork while the rest of us move on. But this time, her voice didn't land the way she wanted. 2 likes. No comments. And that night, a DM slid into my inbox from one of Aaron's oldest friends. "Hey, I don't mean to stir anything, but is all this true? Is your name really still on the house?" I took a deep breath before I answered. "Yes. It always has been." He didn't reply. He didn't have to. One tax bill can tilt a crowd. Melissa couldn't leave it alone. The second post didn't hit the way she'd hoped, and I could tell it rattled her. She wasn't used to being ignored. She was used to applause, those rapid-fire hearts and affirmations that made cruelty feel like charm. So she escalated. By noon the next day, she'd posted a story time video, filtered to death, lips glossed, and voice dripping in pretend concern. She looked straight into the camera and said, "Okay, so apparently there's some confusion about our house and my mother-in-law, who we love and support, even though she's been, well, struggling lately." Pensive face. Struggling. She kept her tone sweet, but every word was a weapon. She's older. She forgets things. Sometimes she thinks she's still paying for things she hasn't in years. She means well. That word older rang in my ears like a gong, and it worked. For a moment, people who didn't know me clapped back to her side. Comments started rolling in again. "You're so patient. Sending you strength, girl. It's so hard when they refuse to let go." They called me they, as if I were a whole generation of dust and delusion. Aaron texted me that night. "Can you please just let this cool off? Melissa's upset, we're both stressed." He always did that. Tried to play mediator without ever stepping into the room. Always halfway in, halfway out. I asked him one question. "Did you know she posted that video?" 3 dots. Then silence. He knew. He'd watched her paint me as senile, and he didn't say a word. Not to her, not to me. That's when something inside me hardened. I'd given them every chance to walk this back, to delete, to apologize, to speak like adults. I gave her room to retreat. Instead, she spat condescension, wrapped it in pink filters, and called it support. That night, I opened my laptop, pulled up my bank portal, downloaded 12 months of mortgage payments, all from my account. Not Aaron's, not shared, mine. I redacted the account number, highlighted the lender's timestamp, and slowly moved my phone camera across the screen while recording. No music, no narration, just proof. Then I uploaded it. Not to her post, but on mine. Quiet. Clear. It didn't go viral. It didn't need to. My video sat on my feed like a landmine. Small, plain, and impossible to argue with. Just the sound of my fingernail clicking the play button, and the screen slowly scanning across a year's worth of mortgage payments, one by one. Each line stamped with the lender's logo. Each transaction tied to my account, my name, my bank. By morning, the likes weren't on Melissa's video anymore. They were gone. What replaced them was a slow boil of questions. Wait, if Evelyn pays the mortgage, then who actually owns the house? I thought this was their home. Why would she lie? And then came the best kind of silence. Melissa didn't post anything new. She didn't clarify, didn't clap back. She just froze. But not everyone stayed quiet. A woman named Darlene, someone I hadn't seen since Aaron's high school graduation, commented under my video, "My mother went through the exact same thing. Thank you for sharing the real side of things." Another wrote, "My MIL did this for us too. We never once pretended it was our house. Some people forget where they come from." Even a neighbor chimed in, "I always thought you owned that house, Evelyn. I remember you planting those maple trees yourself." And just like that, Melissa's social shield, the likes, the winks, the half-jokes, started to peel away. She didn't look witty anymore. She looked exposed. But it wasn't just about feelings now. It was about function, because buried in the noise, someone else had been watching, and they didn't send an emoji. They sent a reply. From the official account of Melissa and Aaron's mortgage lender, it was short, cold, corporate. "We've noted recent discrepancies regarding property ownership and refinancing authorization. Please contact our office at your earliest convenience to clarify documentation." That's all it said, but that one comment, dry and lifeless, was the real earthquake. Because it meant one thing. Melissa had tried something, maybe a refinance. Maybe a name change. Maybe she wanted to pull money out of a house she didn't legally own. And now the lender knew. It wasn't just social anymore. It was legal. It was financial. It was documented. She thought she was staging a performance. I was filing an audit. And the mortgage company? They just lit the first match. Screenshots age like evidence. The moment that lender's comment went live, it was like someone cut the power to Melissa's spotlight. She didn't post again that day. No apology. No snark. Nothing filtered. Nothing rehearsed. Just radio silence. But silence from someone like Melissa isn't peace. It's panic hiding in a dressing room. Because she knew what that message meant. And so did I. She had tried to refinance my house. She had submitted paperwork, maybe forged signatures, maybe just forgot to mention whose name was still on the title. She thought no one would notice, and maybe they wouldn't have if I hadn't spoken. But now the mortgage company was aware, and when banks ask for clarification, they're not being polite. They're building a file. They're locking down activity. They're watching. By noon, Rosa texted, "So, the lender commented? That's gold. That's archive-worthy." I didn't reply right away. I just sat in my kitchen, the same one Melissa called dated and dark, and listened to the tick of the old stove clock. My tea had gone cold. Then my phone buzzed. A voicemail from Aaron. His voice was tight, frustrated. "Hey, Mom, can you not post anything else right now? Melissa's really upset. She's saying you're making this bigger than it is." I hit replay. Then again. Then deleted it. Because no, Aaron, I wasn't making it bigger. She made it big the moment she turned me into a punchline. I'd simply made the truth louder than the lie. That night, around 6:30, I heard tires on gravel. I peeked through the blinds. Melissa's car. She didn't get out right away. Just sat there, phone to her ear, pacing inside the vehicle like she was trying to choreograph her next move. I knew that fear, that desperate scramble when the illusion starts to crack. But she wasn't scared for the right reasons. She wasn't sorry. She was worried about getting caught. And now, she had. The mortgage company didn't post again. They didn't need to. One cold line in a public thread was enough to kill the show. Because nothing silences a social butterfly faster than a financial institution knocking at the door. A dry line from a bank is a faster silence than a scream. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed with my hands folded across my stomach like I was waiting to be buried. The house creaked like it always had. Old joints and old wood, but everything sounded louder now. The pipes, the wind, my own breathing. I should have felt triumphant, but I didn't. I felt sick, not because I was wrong, but because it was my son's wife, my son's family unraveling in real time, in front of neighbors, co-workers, strangers, with usernames and opinions. Had I broken something permanent? I thought about Aaron's first voicemail after the post. His voice small, tired. Melissa's upset, that's what he said. Not I'm upset, not I'm sorry, just her. Had I humiliated him by protecting myself? And then I thought about the nights I used to sit up with Aaron back in his college days, when he'd call crying over his failing grades or some professor who hated him. I paid for that tuition in full, never asked for a penny back. Not because I expected loyalty, but because I was his mother. I gave, I stayed, I showed up. And now I was being cast as a villain for asking not to be erased. I was grieving, not just for the betrayal, but for the hope I'd held that if I just stayed quiet long enough, they'd treat me with respect. I'd been a fool. They hadn't seen my silence as grace. They saw it as weakness. And the second Melissa thought I wouldn't bite back, she sharpened her claws for the kill. So yes, I doubted myself. That night I wondered if I had gone too far, if airing it publicly made me cruel too. But by sunrise, the doubt passed. Because protecting your home, your name, your dignity, is not cruelty, it's necessity. Melissa hadn't just hurt my feelings. She'd tried to rewrite me out of my own life. Right decisions sometimes feel terrible at first. The morning after the lender's comment, Rosa called. Not texted. Called, which she only does when something's good. You still want it quiet? She asked. I didn't answer right away. She let the silence sit, then added, because this one's going to simmer whether you help guide it or not. I sighed. Nothing inflammatory, just facts. No names. She chuckled. Evelyn, sweetheart, facts are inflammatory when people have built their brand on lies. By noon, the Oakbridge Gazette ran a small article under their Civic Snippets section, barely above the fold, nestled between a city council update and a lost cat notice. The headline was simple: Local homeowner rebuts online misrepresentation of property ownership. It was only 4 paragraphs. It didn't name Melissa, didn't quote my post, but it linked to the public property record, my name, my deed, my title. It even quoted a housing attorney who said, public misrepresentations of ownership can create reputational and legal issues for all parties involved, especially if financial institutions become entangled. That was Stewart's language. Rosa must have looped him in. By 2 p.m., the neighborhood Facebook group had picked it up. By 3:15, someone had screenshotted it and dropped it into Melissa's Mompreneur group chat. And by dinner time, my inbox held 3 very different messages. A short email from the HOA president. Hi, Evelyn. Just letting you know we saw the article. Thanks for keeping your records clean. It's appreciated. A message from a woman I barely knew. I had something similar happen with my daughter-in-law. Thank you for reminding people we're not invisible. And then, one from Aaron. Just one line. Did you really have to go this far? I didn't respond. Because I wasn't the one who went far. Melissa had taken it public first. She tagged the family. She cracked the first match. I simply lit a lamp in the dark she created. That evening, I sat in the kitchen again. Same tea, same table, and listened as the internet did what it always does. It didn't shout. It buzzed. I was no longer a ghost in their house. I was the homeowner the neighborhood now knew by name, not just the mother-in-law in the guest room. And for the first time in years, Melissa's confidence began to collapse in the one place she never expected to lose it. Public opinion. A single article flips the audience. She showed up at dusk. No warning, no text. Just the crunch of tires on gravel and the quick, aggressive slam of her car door. Melissa marched up the steps in yoga pants and rage, clutching a manila folder like it was a shield. Her face was flushed, her ponytail crooked, the kind of look she'd normally never allow in public. She rang the doorbell 3 times in a row. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "Don't play games with me," she hissed. "You're making this a circus. My boutique lost a sponsor today because of your stupid article." I kept my tone calm, steady. "It wasn't my article." "You know what I mean?" She shoved the folder toward me. It was full of printed screenshots. My posts, the article, the county record. She'd annotated it like a student preparing for court. "You can't do this," she said. "You're ruining everything over some technicality. We live here. This is our life." I didn't flinch. I didn't yell. I simply turned my tablet toward her, already queued up to the Gazette article, and tapped play on the audio reader version. The robotic voice began. "This week's Civic Update highlights a case of public misrepresentation of property ownership." Melissa's eyes narrowed. "Turn that off," she snapped. "You don't need to rub it in." "I'm not rubbing anything in," I said. "I'm protecting what's mine." She opened her mouth to argue, but then it came, right on cue. My phone buzzed. The voicemail was short, but I made sure the speaker was loud enough for her to hear. "This is Monica from Sterling Mortgage. We're still waiting on document verification regarding a transfer request. Please have Aaron contact us directly." Melissa froze. Her mouth opened, then shut. Her hands tightened around the folder until the pages bent. She turned toward the door, muttering something under her breath I couldn't make out. And there, right in the middle of my porch, Aaron stepped out of the car. He hadn't come to support her. That much was clear. His face was pale. When the voicemail ended, no one spoke. I looked between them and said one thing. "I can," and I did. Melissa didn't argue again, because panic, real panic, makes people clumsy, and desperation is louder in person than it ever is online. Panic looks clumsy in public. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't lean forward. I didn't even stand. I just reached to the table behind me, the same table where Melissa once told a guest that I like to sit and feel useful. I pulled a neat folder from the drawer, labeled, clipped, ready. I handed it to her like I was offering a menu. "Here," I said, "since you seem confused." She took it, but didn't open it at first, just held it like it might burn her. Aaron hovered behind her now, halfway in the doorway, halfway out of the conversation, like always. Inside the folder was everything. A printed copy of the county property record, date-stamped and highlighted. The latest tax notice addressed to me, unopened before I'd scanned it. A full ledger of mortgage checks from my account, each one traced with cleared confirmation numbers from the bank. And right on top, like the cherry on the sundae, a printout of her original post. If I could erase one family member, it'd be her. #good riddance. With my comment pinned underneath. "You forgot who pays the taxes." She flipped through it, eyes moving fast, face flushing red. Then I said the words that had been sitting in my throat for weeks. "You called me a ghost," I said quietly. "You stood in the house I pay for, erased me publicly, and treated me like wallpaper, like I was just background noise." I gestured toward the folder. "Well, here's the paperwork that proves I'm very much alive." Melissa didn't speak. She stared at the last page like it was written in a foreign language. Or maybe like she was seeing me clearly for the first time, not as the quiet woman in the corner, but as the legal owner with the receipts. "You've lied to your friends," I continued, "to your customers, to your own family, and now to your lender." I looked past her, at Aaron. Was any of that a joke too? He blinked, said nothing. I didn't expect him to. He wasn't built for confrontation, he never had been. But he heard me. They both did. I took the folder back, slid it into a drawer. No drama, no smug grin, just a filing cabinet doing its job. Melissa stood there for another second, then turned and left. Aaron followed. No one slammed a door. Because they didn't own one to slam. Paper cuts deeper than insults. The next day, the house felt different, not quieter. It had always been quiet since Henry passed, but clearer, like a fog had lifted. Like I could finally breathe in the walls I paid for without someone rolling their eyes behind my back. That afternoon, back online, I watched the shift in real time. Melissa's boutique account, once all pink script and lifestyle reels, had stopped posting. No brunch outfit photos, no Monday mindset mantras, just quiet. I checked her last post. It had 17 comments. 13 were people asking, "Is this the same house stuff from the Gazette article?" One just said, "So, who actually owns the house?" Another, "Is this why the lender posted that weird comment last week?" Melissa didn't answer, but her followers had already started drifting. The ones who lived for image had no interest in reality. And the reality was this: she built a brand on a lie. And the moment I brought sunlight, the paint peeled fast. Even Aaron's job wasn't immune. Rosa forwarded me a neighborhood forum thread where someone mentioned his name. HR had flagged the article. It wasn't enough to fire him, but enough to pause a promotion he'd been quietly expecting. I hadn't said a single harsh word in public, but facts, once planted, bloom fast, especially when lies have already rotted the soil. And that house, the one Melissa used to strut through like a queen, it suddenly looked a lot like what it really was: a borrowed stage. And the audience had left the theater. Paper can lock a door without a key. At first, the fallout was subtle. A few neighbors stopped waving at Melissa. A few others, the quieter ones, dropped by with compliments for my garden or offers to help bring in the bins. Not loud solidarity, just small signs that people had seen the headlines and picked a side. Melissa's boutique account didn't just go quiet, it started bleeding. She lost 2 sponsors within days. One pulled a collaboration citing, quote, reputation risk. Another, more blunt, said they, quote, couldn't promote with someone entangled in property misrepresentation. The word fraud was never officially used, but it hovered in the air like a gas leak. She posted a story trying to spin it. When women build something strong, they always get attacked. Only, this time, no one clapped. They just commented, "Is that why the county flagged your paperwork?" Because yes, they had. That was the other shoe. The forged affidavit Melissa filed with the county, trying to establish equitable interest in the property, was caught almost immediately. The signature didn't match mine. Not even close. She tried to pass off a scrawl as legal fact, but the county clerk wasn't stupid. I got the email early that morning. "Ms. Carter, a filing was submitted claiming partial interest in your property. Due to signature discrepancies, we are flagging for fraud review. Please provide ownership documentation." I didn't panic. I sent what they asked for, and more. A notarized copy of my deed, a copy of my ID, the mortgage ledger, again, and a brief, calm statement. I am the sole legal owner of the property in question. Any claims otherwise are inaccurate. 3 days later, the filing was withdrawn. Melissa's next move? She tried to submit a handwriting analysis to argue her case, as if a county clerk would accept a YouTube handwriting expert over a decades-old deed and a dozen mortgage payments. It made her look desperate, and worse, foolish, because once the law sees you trying to outwit a system designed to document truth, you don't just lose the argument, you lose your credibility. Even Aaron couldn't spin that one, and HR definitely didn't miss it. His promotion, the one they'd been grooming him for, evaporated. Quietly. No meeting, no explanation, just a trout is knee reassessment of internal candidates. They traded social capital for a cheap shot. They lost both. Because the world Melissa built depended on applause. And social applause has an expiry date. Forgery looks uglier in daylight. Months passed. The drama cooled, but nothing returned to normal. Melissa apologized. Privately, stiffly. Aaron said little. He still couldn't look me in the eye. They stayed in the house, for now, quieter, careful, like tenants who suddenly remembered their lease wasn't guaranteed. I didn't seek revenge. I didn't evict them. I let the silence settle. Heavy, earned. But I did post one last thing. A photo of my front door. Just the threshold. Clean and still. Captioned, This house was never theirs to mock. No hashtags, no tag backs, no explanation. It got over 1,000 likes. A few angry messages. Sure, loyalty doesn't die clean. But no one questioned the truth anymore. And no one touched the title again. Melissa had tried to erase me with a joke. Instead, the internet helped me file her name where it belonged, in a folder flagged for future review. She made a joke. I turned it into a ledger. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. Thank you for watching.